There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Well, hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Bookmaniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with another Friday Reads, and I have got new stuff to show off. One of them is behind you. I got a new ring light, a big ring light, because I like filming now in my new desk in the living room, but the living room lighting sucks for videos, especially it makes my bald head shine like Chernobyl, so this really helps. I've got all the living room lights off and I've got this on, so it looks like I'm filming at night, but you can see the sun peeking through the curtain. I'm just much happier with the lighting. This was Electra's, my friend Electra's solution to the glossy forehead issue some months ago, and I finally, because you know, when you're home all day, my weekly budget for spending money, I have like $100 or more left at the end of each week because I'm not going to restaurants, not paying for public transportation. So this was a time for me to spend a little cash and get the light. I'm very happy with it. I'm still experimenting with which hue. So for example, I can do all kinds of things. Where is it? This is the one I think I like best, but I also have these options. Don't like that. That looks like fluorescent lighting. Or that one. Or that one. I think I'm going with that one for now. If you have a preference. Do I really want to get my subscribers' input? Yes, sure, why not? I may not listen to you. So this is number 1, number 2, and number 3. I also have stronger and like a kind of a dimmer switch as well, but I think this setting is fine. So let me put it back to... Is that the one? This one. Okay, so here we go. And I have a new blouse. Look at that. It's on the back too. Of course, I can't go to a clothes shop, but I desperately needed new spring shirts, and so I ordered one offline, and it actually fit. So I'm going to do more online shopping because I need some new blouses for you people for spring, short sleeve, you know. I don't want to talk about COVID-19 this week. I don't think I have, my personal situation is the same. I've kind of gotten into a routine. It's going okay. Kenji's still at work. The news about Japan, it's not any better. I don't believe anything I hear that the government says, and it's a genocide waiting to happen. I know that the hospitals in Tokyo are almost at that critical level where they're not going to be able to handle the coronavirus patients, so yeah, and it's Japan's fault because it's a stupid country, stupid leadership anyway. People are going to die unnecessarily because they're almost at that critical level. So anyway, enough. I don't really want... I want to talk about books today. So, I have 2 bales. Sean the Bookmaniac, the Empress of Bailing, is back. I think I mentioned last week that I was going to start, or maybe I had started, a romance novel. That didn't go well. I wasn't surprised. It's called The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang, who is an Asian American novelist, and I believe she herself is maybe on the autism spectrum, and so was the protagonist. That was the only thing that was interesting to me, although I didn't think her character was very interesting. I thought it was not... I didn't believe anything about her. Like, it just wasn't believable. Anything about it. Yeah, it was terrible. So, I mean, this was a buddy read with Cousin and Mel, and they, I think, to varying degrees, really enjoyed it. I pulled out after the first 3.5 chapters or something like that. When it got to the sex scene, I was done. I was done, people. I don't care if people think I'm a literary snob. I probably am. I don't judge. I try not to judge other people for liking, genre fiction. It isn't for me. I'll try every 17 years, I'll try another piece of genre fiction. How's that? You can hold me to that. And I was really quite sad about this, but this was awful. It's The Mountains Sing by the Vietnamese-American writer. Let's see if I can remember the pronunciation that I looked up last week. Wen Phan K. Mai, I think. I read another half of a page after I talked to you about it last Friday, and the writing was it's just so cliched and sentimental. The writing made me ill. Very sad, beautiful cover. I wanted to love it, as they say, but no. So those were my bales. And I have finished 2, one that I really shouldn't count, but I'm counting it because it had a separate entry on Goodreads. It's a short story by Haruki Murakami. It's in this Penguin Book of Japanese Short Stories. And I did a Skype video chat about this story with my dear friend Lindy, and that video will go up in about a week. We also filmed a general book chat, Lindy talking about what she's currently reading, and she had some very interesting comments about reading in this pandemic. So I'm going to put that one up first, probably this weekend, and then our chat about the Murakami story. The Murakami story is called UFO in Kushiro, and that was part of his After the Quake collection of short stories published around the year 2000. I'm not giving it a rating or telling you what I thought about it until the video goes up, but that was fun, and I am going to be doing more Skype video chats. I think my channel is going to move, not exclusively, but I'm going to really branch out, because now that I realize how easy it is, the audio and the video quality is not top-notch, but neither is the news right now. It's the same quality of when you hear all these reporters working from home, and it's good enough. It's good. So I'm really excited about the 2 videos I made with Lindy, and I have already put feelers out to booktubers and other bookish people to do a series of these for the time being, because it's fun and I think it will be interesting for you. Because I won't be getting tipsy with any booktubers in my apartment anytime soon, unfortunately. And I also finished on audio the anthology of Irish women writers' short stories, The Long Gaze Back, an anthology of Irish women writers, edited by Sinead Gleeson. It was a 4-star read for me. There was a few stories that didn't work, and that may have been because I was distracted by coronavirus news that day or something. It's really hard to tell with audiobooks, to consistently concentrate, especially when the audio narrators varied from story to story. But I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it highly. It appears not to be in print anymore, but there is an audiobook on Scribd and presumably other places that you can find audiobooks. It was delightful. Now, I'm not sure. Maybe there are new copies elsewhere, but I did order, I can't remember if it was new, but I ordered a softcover copy. It's making its way to me now, and once I have it and I review a few of the stories, maybe reread a few, I may do a full review, because it certainly merits that, but I can't based on having consumed it on audio and, kind of zoning out here and there. But it was great. Introduced me to a whole bunch of writers I'd never heard of that I have already found that they have ebooks and whatnot on Scribd, and we'll be following up with that, so stay tuned. So that's what I finished, and I don't know that I'm going to finish anything. I probably will bail on something else in the coming week, but when I look at how far I am into all the books I have ongoing, there's a small chance that maybe I might finish one by next week, but I'll have other stuff to talk about next week, I hope. I've had a pretty good reading week. Some days less able to concentrate than others, and I do have to kind of work with myself and sometimes read. When I pick up a book, I have to read those first few sentences about 11 or 12 times before I can continue to the next sentence and then get a rhythm going, and that's just the way it is right now sometimes. I have started a bunch, but I've got my number of books that I'm currently reading down to 11. That's down. I think it was up to 15 or 16 a few weeks ago. One of them I've been doing for more than a year on audio, Clarissa. The rest of them are much, much more current and very much in progress. And I would say I am enjoying or deeply loving all of them. So I've just got a bare start on a few. Let me tell you about this one first, because this was what I replaced for the Vietnamese American novel. A Canadian novella, The Student by Carrie Fagan. This was a gift from Lindy. She sent it to me last fall, and it sounded really good. I think I read the first page, and I was really taken with it. And look at that cover. Carrie Fagan is a Jewish-Canadian novelist. I wasn't aware of him at all, and this novella is set in 1957 in Toronto, and it has a Barbara Pym-esque protagonist, Miriam Moskovitz, who is an English major at the university wanting to do her PhD. Or maybe she's a graduate student already, I forget. But she's a bookworm, and she doesn't really fit into the social mores of 1957 Toronto. I just love it so far. This is the one that I might finish soon, but I like to take a month with a 100-page novella, especially if I'm enjoying it. But I may not be able to stop myself from gobbling it up, because it's so good. Very recently published, last year, I believe. Yeah, 2019. Carrie Fagan is a man, but this female protagonist is striking me as very realistic, and I love her already. I have also got a bare start on Tim Winton's famous novel Cloud Street. According to the cover, it's the modern Australian classic. So this is for Aussie April, and this is a buddy read with Juan of Bookish Islander. I have read like 12 pages or something. The writing is just astounding, which I remember from having read Breathe or Breath. God, I always forget. Breath, which I quite loved. Not a very good ending, but apparently most of Winton's books, the endings kind of suck. I hope that this ending might be better, but the prose is just stunning from the very first sentence. Juan and I haven't checked in with each other. We're doing 2 chapters a week, checking in after each chapter, so I think I'm halfway through chapter 1. We'll check in with him this Sunday, but it's really starting out strong, as I expected. And I have started Pat Barker's novel, Regeneration, which is the first in her Regeneration trilogy, and again, I'm 2 chapters in, maybe. This is a buddy read with Heidi of My Reading Life, and yeah, a chapter a day, and then we're checking in once a week. I mean, just that's the way it shakes out in week 1, that it's a chapter a day. We're reading a section a week, and this section number 1 has 7 chapters. So I have read 2, and I am gobsmacked at how immediately she sucked me into the story. It's about the World War I era poet Siegfried Sassoon and his conscientious objector stuff, and he was hospitalized in a mental institution, and it's about that. I mean, so far that's what the story's about, and I don't particularly like reading fiction that has historical personages in it, but it's sure not bothering me so far with this one. I don't know much about Siegfried Sassoon, so maybe that's why, but it's just so good. I'm expecting Heidi's loving it too, but we haven't checked in with each other. It's certainly striking me as being a Heidi book. I've been wanting to read this novel and the whole trilogy for years, and this qualifies for the war book slot on the bingo card for Memento Moriathon. So thank you, Doris, for the bingo card, and thank you, Adam, for the opportunity to finally slot this one into my reading life. And Heidi's reading life. Wow. So that's what I've started. Monday, I will be starting the memoir, My Father and Myself by J.R. Ackerley, which I have read and actually studied and wrote about in grad school, but I will be rereading it in a buddy read with Greg of Supposedly Fun. I had raved about it on my channel, and Greg bought it, and I said to him, I'm kind of dying to reread it. Shall we buddy read it? And so that's going to start on Monday. Very much looking forward to it, and again, a really leisurely, like maybe 2 chapters a week, and some of these chapters are small. We might actually tax ourselves with 3 chapters a week. This is hands down the best gay male memoir or autobiography that I've ever read. It's absolutely fascinating, and when I studied it, I got notes all through it. Who knows, maybe I won't like it nearly as much, but I studied this in around the year 2000, I think. Published in 1968, if my squinty eyes can read that date, in tiny print on the copyright page. Ackerley was fascinating because he wasn't the only out gay writer in the UK in his day, but he was one of the very few, and maybe the one who wrote about homosexuality and his sex life more frankly than anybody else did. So yeah, it's really great. Oh, and because I finished the Irish short story anthology, I have chosen my next one, and that is an Indigenous Canadian novel of some renown, published in recent years, Moon of the Crusted Snow. So I'm going to be doing it on audio. Moon of the Crusted Snow, and the author has one of the most unusual first names I've ever heard, Wabgishik Rice. It doesn't sound to me like an indigenous name, but what do I know? I'm using the pronunciation that was on the audio book for his first name, Wabgishik Rice. And it is a bit of a dystopian novel that a lot of people on social media are saying is a really fascinating read right now in this pandemic. It's set in a small northern Anishinaabe community, I believe in Ontario, in what is now Ontario. And the community goes dark and is cut off from the rest of Canada, and food becomes scarce, there's no electricity, and it's what happens to that community. And I've heard several Indigenous... I'm not comfortable anymore with the term Indigenous Canadians, but I don't know how else to... Indigenous writers who live in Canada very uncomfortably, with a very complicated relation to the colonial nation in which they reside. That's too awkward, so I will just keep using it. Many Indigenous Canadian peoples say their lives are... they're living a dystopian plot. They're living in a dystopian narrative. I listened to the first couple minutes on audio. I loved the narrator's voice, and he is a Indigenous actor. Billy Morasti, Aboriginal Canadian actor and writer of Cree descent. So he narrates it. I wasn't familiar with his voice particularly, but it certainly sounds good. So that's what kind of sold me. He was born in Manitoba. So this is, again, I'm talking about the audio narrator, Billy Morasti. He was born in Manitoba, and he is related to two famous Indigenous Canadian cultural workers, the playwright Thompson Highway, and I think it's his brother, dancer, choreographer, actor, and director Renee Highway. Are they brothers? I've always assumed they were. Yes. So Thompson Highway and Renee Highway are brothers, and I just went on to Renee Highway's Wikipedia page, and I see that I actually had a one-night stand in the early 1990s with his husband or partner. You can check out the details there if you want. Oh my goodness, I'm blushing. Whew. Okay. I'm flummoxed. This is much more entertaining than talking about the coronavirus pandemic, at least for a couple minutes, hey? Whew. So I'm really looking forward to it. Lindy told me she didn't think it was a Sean book. She didn't think I'd like the writing. We'll see. All right, people. I hope you're doing well. Tell me all about it in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.